Hello and welcome. This is Barbara from Vienna, Austria, and today I'm happy to share with you the January box for your creative studio, which is a vintage stationery subscription box. All the links are below if you're interested in getting one of these yourself. Amanda, who is the curator of this wonderful box, always adds a cute little thank you note. And she also makes her own little sticker sheet, which is the one right here for this month. And I'll be showing you the products one by one. If you want to skip this part and go right to the part where I start creating, then you can go ahead to minute 5:27. had been very much inspired by Maud's video, which I will link below again, where she shows what you can do with her prompts, which are what I have printed here on coffee stained paper, and how to keep them in your journal. First, I thought I was going to make a booklet like she had in her video, but then I decided I'm going to actually just make a folder in which I can add these prompts to, and I wanted to use her method also of perforating the prompts so that you can just break them off easily one by one. So what I'm doing here is I'm starting off by cutting the prompts into columns. So I've done that for both pages. And the next step is going to be to use this Tim Holtz perforating tool, which I was showing at the beginning, which I'm using here. And as you can see here, it just perforates the line, which is pretty cool. This is the first time I'm working with this tool, I believe. And I got this at a craft fair, but I will do my best to link it in the Amazon affiliate links if you don't know where to buy such a tool. I must say this definitely had a learning curve in using. It took quite some time to understand how much pressure it needs and how to keep it moving straight along your ruler. So please don't get frustrated if it doesn't work the first time. It does take some practice. So here you see all the perforated lines, and I did that to all of the sheets. So that's all of those now. Some of them, as you can maybe see, I cut too deeply, so they're already kind of falling off, but that is okay because once I start using the prompts and tearing them, I will have smaller pieces anyway, which is why I wanted to use a folder like this so that I could also stick in the smaller pieces. So I thought I would try and use this cover of a standard size TN that I had left over. Of course, you can use any kind of thicker cardstock that you might have. And I just cut it down a tiny bit to make sure that it would fit into my junk journal. So my idea was to put these inside of two little pockets. And I'm using Amanda's January box to decorate this folder. So I'm starting off by using some of these papers from this paper pad. And I'm just going to start collaging on the inside of my booklet using these papers. And the beautiful thing about Amanda's boxes is that everything is always so coordinated and looks so cohesive that it's so easy to use them on projects without having to think much about what goes with what, because pretty much everything goes with everything. So that's one thing I really enjoy about those boxes. So now I'm kind of just tearing up these papers to kind of try to fit them like a puzzle to cover the whole inside part of my folder. And as always, I stick to rectangular shaped pieces. I don't like strangely shaped pieces in my collages for some reason. But obviously you do what you enjoy. And I will be later getting rid of these white edges as well because I do not like those. One more piece left to go. Okay, the inside is covered. Just cutting off the excess. Now I'm going to, no, not yet. I'm going to use this, which was actually part of the packaging. And I thought I would cut that in half and then use that as my tuck spots for this folder. I'm doing the same on both sides. So I just cut it in half, and now I'm going to cut a slant on both sides equally. And now you see I have these little pockets. So now I'm using my Vintage Photo Distress Oxide, which is also linked below in case you need one of those. And I'm going to ink around the edge of my folder, and also I'm going to ink up all those white parts. And finally, in a moment, I'm also going to be inking up the middle fold because I just thought that would look nice. And I also inked up, of course, the edges of these little tuck spots, and I'm using my 3-in-1 glue, which I did purchase some more of because the tacky glue just wouldn't do for all the projects. I guess I just love using this glue so much. I also have that one linked down below. So I'm just attaching that on the two outer sides of each pocket, and I will embellish those further, a little further down the line. And now I'm just putting in half of these prompts on one side and half on the other side. And as I said, it doesn't really matter that they're already falling apart because they will be anyway once I start using them. And now for the outside, I thought I would make a collage on that front only because the back, I kind of had the idea of just gluing into the back side of my journal, so that wouldn't need any decoration. So now I'm going through Amanda's 5 by 5 inch, I believe. Well, whatever, it's these smaller papers that she had in the box, and I am tearing this up with my tearing ruler, which is by Joy Crafts and also linked below. And I am now just going to play around a little bit, again trying to work kind of like a puzzle to try and fit various papers on this cover to make a nice collage with kind of evenly spread colors and more dominant visual effects around the page, making your eye move around the page rather than sticking to one place of the folder. Here I'm also adding one of these other papers that she had in there. And it wasn't quite balanced yet with the dominant red there, so I thought I would take some of that red off and position it a little bit differently. And this is what it looked like once everything was glued down. I just used my regular I used my regular glue stick to glue everything down. Now I wanted to use one of these sticky notes to put the title 2020 on it, and I decided to use Amanda's number stamps. I think these are so cool. And I'm using my Memento Ladybug red ink because, as you might know by now, I love numbers in red. And I have the Memento ink pads linked down below as well. And it took me 3 times to have it stamped the way I wanted it, sort of, to look. So I find with these wooden stamps, it's always a challenge to line up the numbers nicely. And so I tried various times, as you can see, until it worked out like I wanted to. So I used this scrap of cardboard to kind of help me align the stamps, and that did work a lot better. It's still not perfect, but it will do. So this is going to go on my title, so of course I'm inking that up, and then I just use my glue stick to stick that right on the cover. So my cover is done. And on the inside, I did want to embellish these pockets a little bit more, so I wanted to use this wider washi tape for the 2 focal points that I wanted on either side. And so I'm just using the tearing ruler to tear these 2 images of the women, and I'm just tearing it down as much as I needed it to fit nicely on that pocket. Doing the same thing with the other image for the right side. Actually, I will switch those 2 around because I didn't like the one lady that I now have on the right to look to the outside. I wanted her to look to the inside, which is why I switched them. And now I'm using some of these already pre-cut washi tape stickers to serve as my background So I'm going to use 2 different ones for each side. These are so easy and fun to use. And I'm cutting around this shape because I don't like these wide borders. So there you have a very simple little collage, and doing the same on the left side. So I'll show you a close-up in a moment. So now I took out my current no-sew junk journal, and I decided to put this booklet in the back. So that fit perfectly. And before gluing that down, I thought I wanted it to close as well. So I decided to add some, what are they called? Some eyelets. So I'm using my crocodile, which is also linked below. And I'm going to, so I punched sort of like the middle of the front side, then I marked with my pencil through to the other side so that the 2 holes would be aligned. And I'm going to choose some rose gold eyelets to go through those holes. If you don't have an eyelets punch and you just have a regular hole punch, then that will totally do, because if you have cardstock, it will definitely be sturdy enough to just thread some string through that. But since I have one, I enjoy the visual accent of these eyelets. So I'm just using some white twine, and I am threading that through and making a double knot. And I'm doing that on both sides, so that way then I can just tie those shut. This is how I've also tied some of my journals in the past. I'm just making a little bow, and then it's closed. So now what's left to do is to use my 3-in-1 glue, because this is a very heavy glue, it's very strong. So I thought this was a perfect glue to glue on this little booklet to make sure it doesn't come off. And I did weigh that down with a few books afterwards to make sure it's stuck on well. And there you have it, there's your little booklet. Check out Maud's video for some more inspiration of how else you could add her beautiful prompts. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you back next time. Bye!